Geometry Dash, a game that likely needs no introduction. It's one of the most popular mobile games of all time, and forget mobile, it's just one of the most popular games ever. I remember nearly 10 years ago when this game took my middle school by storm. It was the only game people were playing. In between classes, during lunch, and after school, it was Geometry Dash time all the time. But if you ever played Geometry Dash, you probably know that it has both a free and a paid version. Since we were kids, not all of us had access to the $2 paid version. But we thought if we just looked up Geometry Dash full game, free, unblocked, free download, then we'd actually get the full game for free. Well, today I'm giving myself 3 hours to remake Geometry Dash and then make my own level in it and challenge my friend to beat it. The first step is to make the player. Now this won't surprise anyone, but the controls in Geometry Dash are extremely simple. There's only one button which does different things depending on which game mode you're currently playing as. For the cube, it could not be more simple, it's just a jump. I spent a little while tweaking the values of the jump and movement speed until it felt similar to Geometry Dash, but something felt off. I realized that what felt weird wasn't the jump itself, but the visual part of the jump. And that's because the cube needs to spin, obviously. In normal Geometry Dash, when the player jumps, the cube does like the spinny thing, but it's kind of weird because it isn't like a set spin rate. I tried that at first, but it looked really weird. But then I tweaked the values and came up with this spinning formula. This makes the player spin faster the faster he's moving up and down. And side by side with the original Geometry Dash jump, I think it's pretty close. The formula makes it so the faster the player is moving up or down, the faster the cube rotates. At the start of the jump, the cube spins a lot, but at the apex of the jump, it spins almost none, then it becomes fast again as the player starts falling. With the movement pretty much decided, I needed to add collision to the game. That means walls, floors, ceilings, and of course, obstacles. Thankfully for movement like this, I just used GameMaker's Move and Collide function, so now if the player is gonna run into a wall or a spike, they're just teleported back to the start of the level. Then I made the start of Stereo Madness to test what I had so far. Now you might be wondering, Trip, only an hour has passed and yet you've already done all this stuff? Are you lying? Is this like that fighting game video where you said it took 24 hours, but you actually did it in parts over a 3-day weekend? No, I'm not scamming. This is just because for this project, I'm using some of the new GameMaker features, who was generous enough to sponsor this video. Like I said, the function I used is called Move and Collide, and it was literally perfect for a game like Geometry Dash. I just input my vertical and horizontal speeds, the object I'm using for blocks, and bam, we have movement. It's not always this easy. For example, in my only released game Step by Step, the movement is much more complex than the Geometry Dash cube, okay? However, GameMaker in general is super easy to use. Their custom coding language is very forgiving, which was perfect for me when I started out with no experience. But if you don't like it, GameMaker even has block coding, which makes developing your games as simple as dragging and dropping. After making the movement, I used GameMaker's simple drag and drop room editor to make the start of Stereo Madness in like 5 minutes. GameMaker has always been my engine of choice long before they sponsored me, and it's my #1 engine recommendation to you. It's been used to make some of the most iconic games of all time like Undertale, Pizza Tower, Rivals of Aether, and of course Step by Step, which is probably the most popular out of all those. Best of all, it's completely free. Now I bet you're wondering, Trip, GameMaker sounds super easy to use, but they're sponsoring you for this video, so how are they free? What's the catch? Good question, very thoughtful. The only time GameMaker costs money is if you want to sell your game, and it's only a $100 one-time fee for unlimited games for life. Now, if you don't plan on making any money with your game, then it's completely free. But here's the best part. You can pay the fee at the end. You get full access to all the features without paying anything. That means you could work on your game for 5 years totally free and then decide to pay the fee right before release. GameMaker really is the best engine for new developers, and I've been using it long before they sponsored me. So download GameMaker with my link in the description, and thank you to GameMaker for sponsoring this video. Now with the general movement finished, I need to work on the camera. There's 2 parts to the GD camera, following the player and the background. In a normal Geometry Dash level, the background moves a lot slower than the foreground. Using a function called a lerp, I replicated this effect for the background of my game. In addition, I added tiles to the floor and also this sneaky white line. I actually never noticed this line while playing the original game, but this line sits on the ground and moves in front of your player for the entire level. It actually makes a big difference in terms of making the game look accurate. Without it, it just feels off. Now, something that was surprisingly more tricky than I thought was following the player, and that's because the GD camera is a bit unusual. See, it follows the player horizontally, but vertically it only sometimes moves. In particular, it moves if the player strays too far away from the middle of the camera. So I tried to add that and I somewhat succeeded, but honestly, I'll say it, Geometry Dash did it better. I know, hot take, hot take. Anyway, with this done, that was pretty much everything I needed to do before I could start building a map. And now obviously I'm gonna build Stereo Madness, okay? I tried to replicate it to the best of my ability, but I definitely made some mistakes. Building these jumping parts at the start of Stereo Madness also helped me tweak the player's speed to be more accurate to Geometry Dash. Since with these specific jumps, only the right speed and jump height will be able to accurately make these jumps. But then I got to the shit part. Honestly, coding the ship was extremely easy. All I did was make holding the button turn the player up and letting go of the button turn the player down. I didn't even have to change many of the collision rules because if you think about it, the rules for the ship are really similar to the rules for the normal player. Hitting the wall is no good, hitting a spike is no good. The only difference is you can fly into the ceiling, so it's slightly different. I did have to change the camera though, so it's a fixed height and doesn't follow the player while you're in the ship mode. Now for some reason I didn't want to stick to the Stereo Madness layout, so I made my own ship part, which was much harder than Stereo Madness's ship part, but by no means was it like a hard ship part in terms of Geometry Dash standards. Then I put the goal right after the ship section. Now I only made one level, but that's because I wanted to tackle something that a lot of people said I couldn't do for some reason. Back in June I made a short about this exact same concept because GameMaker was generous enough to sponsor one of my shorts. For the short, I remade Geometry Dash in 1 hour, and the video did really well, but some people in the comments were not happy with how I introduced the video. You see, I said I remade Geometry Dash, but according to them, I clearly did not remake it, and I didn't show the ship part, nor did I remake the editor. So I decided this time, I'm gonna make an editor. To do this, I first have to make a room that I called custom. At the start of the game, players now have to choose if they just want to play the level I made or custom and build their own level. If they hit play, it takes them to my Stereo Madness level. If they hit build, they're put in a blank room. They'll notice their cursor is turned into a block, and you can also see in the top right of the screen, there is a block there now. Now you just click to place a block. Boom. However, just clicking to place is annoying, so let's make it where you can hold the button, but let's make it where you can't place a block on top of another block when holding the button down, because that would make a lot of lag. Okay, well that's not what I wanted. It would be incredibly annoying to try to build a level like this, so new idea, let's lock the cursor to every 31 pixels, half the size of a block. And hey, that's a lot better. Finally, let's make it where right click deletes the block, and of course you can hold this down too. Clicking the block in the top right cycles through the different blocks you can place. Pressing spacebar lets you play the level from the start, and when you're ready to go back to editing, hit escape. Now I could end it here, but what's the point of a custom level builder if you can't share your levels? Now this is actually really tricky. I'm not paying for any servers like Geometry Dash does. So the way I need to share a level is by saving a file to your computer, then reading the level from that file. The saving of the level is actually quite easy thanks to some code I've been using for the roguelike. When I run this code, it writes a file with the coordinates and object type of every relevant block. The problem for me was opening that file. I haven't done any work with file saving before. For my game step by step, my friend Froggy did all of that work. However, here's my plan. When you finish making your level, press Ctrl S to save it to a file on your computer. Then when you open the game, clicking Load Custom will open the editor with the most recent saved file. I used ChatGPT to help me read the text in the file and convert it into arrays, and after tweaking a lot of the code ChatGPT gave me, I got it to work. By the way, for new developers, don't feel scared to use resources like ChatGPT as long as you learn what it's doing. ChatGPT made several mistakes with this code it gave me, but because I've used GameMaker for a while, I was able to figure out what the problem was and make the necessary changes. And after I fixed the code, I was happy to see that when I made this random garbage and saved it, I could successfully open it and even continue editing the level. And with that, I felt like I finished. Sure, I could add in more blocks, but I completed the task I set out to do. Also, if you want to download the game, you have to join my Discord, link in the description. Now came the moment of truth. Me and my friend River both used this level editor to make a level for each other and then challenged our friends to beat it. River, I just want to compliment you because you successfully captured the essence of a level on the new tab of Geometry Dash.
Oh.
When you go on Geometry Dash and you sort by new, it's stuff like this, you know, and what this shows me is that my game elevates to the level that Geometry Dash does, because only in a true Geometry Dash game could you find a level like this. So, you know, thank you, River. You can watch that video here. You can also watch me remake Mario Party here. Finally, subscribe here. And don't forget to download GameMaker with my link in the description. Special thanks to User and all my other Discord supporters shown on screen and in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.